Welcome to tonight's License Subcommittee meeting. My name is Councillor Mercy Ume, and I'll be chairing tonight's meeting. The meeting is being broadcast live on Council's YouTube channel. If I lose connection and cannot reconnect, Councillor Paul Alexandra will take over for me. I would like to remind all participants of a few housekeeping points. Please keep your microphone muted unless you are speaking. Please keep your camera turned on when you speak at the hearing. Please note that the chat function has been disabled. If parties wish to add additional information other than their allocated time to speak, they must use the raise hand function so that they're not missed. I also ask that members keep their questions and comments brief to the point. I now move to item 1 on our agenda.
Yeah, can I just say, we've got Deborah Gomez in the waiting room. I mean, can somebody from legal or licensing give her a call and let her know that is she attending? Is she not attending?
They said she's not attending.
I don't believe she's got any standing to attend, Chair.
Can you please confirm?
She's no longer employed by the licence holder. She's no longer the DPS. She's not made any representations, as I understand it, because certainly there's nothing in the agenda pack to suggest she has. So I don't believe she's got any standing to attend the hearing. She can listen to it online, but I don't think she is lawfully permitted to engage in this hearing. That's my view. Emmanuel will obviously give you his own view, but that's certainly our position.
If she hasn't made any valid representation, then she can't speak at a hearing. I believe she's still the DPS she's not.
No. She was removed as DPS as an interim step. Both on the 5th of September. So she's not been the DPS since the 5th of September. That was an interim step, and so she's not DPS. I mean, even if she was, I don't think she's got any standing. It's the licence holder who's got standing. Obviously, if the licence holder, if she was here with the licence holder as part of their representations, but she's not. She's no longer employed by the company.
Okay. Can we let her know that she can watch online and
Is that okay, Lorna?
Yeah, give her a call.
We can send her the YouTube link. Thanks.
Yeah. We move to item 1 on the agenda. Item 1, apologies for absence. None was received. Item 2, declaration of interests. Do members have any declaration of interests?
No, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Item 3, mitigants. Fulham, 1 Fulham Broad.
No, Chair.
Oh, thank you. Mitigants, Fulham, number 1 Fulham Broadway, Southwest 6. I would like to remind all participants to introduce yourself as I call on you, and as you have with us, I call your first names, the applicants of the review. We have police barrister, which is Gabriel.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, this is Gabriel.
Okay, we have PC Nicole, the police licensing team. Is she here?
Yeah. Present, Chair. Good evening.
Thank you. Good evening. We have PC Chris, police licensing team.
Yes, good evening, Chair. Good evening, everybody. I'm present.
Thank you. We have Lorna, licensing officer.
Present, Chair.
Thank you. We have Emmanuel, the council's legal officer.
Present, Chair.
Okay, we have licensees. We have and Duncan, the barrister. Duncan.
Sorry. Hello, Chair. Good evening, everybody. Hello.
Good evening. Thank you. We have Louis, which is the solicitor.
Here he is. He's coming round.
Good evening, Chair. I'm Mr. Craig here in Chambers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have Dennis, director of mitigants. The director.
Yes, nice to meet you all. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. We have George, proposed DPS, Michigan as well.
Yes, good evening, Chair.
Thank you. We have Timothy Hughes and proposed DPS.
Hi all, I'm here.
Thank you. Okay, supporting the review, we have Edwin, licensing team manager.
Good evening, Chair. Thank you, present.
Thank you. We have Joanne.
Good evening. Yes, here. Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening. We have John Scolding, who is a resident and representing Miranda. John.
Good evening, Chair, and apologies to everyone. My useless Hewlett-Packard camera is failing me, and I'm not technically able to put it on, for which apologies.
Okay, accepted. Thank you. We have Charlotte Dexter. Charlotte.
Good evening, Charlotte Dexter, Parkland Road. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, procedure. Before we consider the application today, may I confirm that addition to the main agenda, a supplementary agenda was published on the 1st of October, 2024, and supplementary B was published on 2nd October, 2024. Is that correct? Yes. I will quickly explain the procedure the committee will follow. We will be hearing from the following. The licensing officer will introduce the application. The applicant, Gabriel Nelson, police barrister, will present the grounds of the review. The responsible authority supporting the review, Adrian, and Joanna, and John Holding, and Charlotte Dexter supporting the review, local residents. Finally, the premises license holder representative. Usually, each party will address the committee for a maximum of 5 minutes. Following the presentation by all parties, the committee may ask questions of any party or other person present at the hearing, except the committee members. No party has the right to ask questions to any other party at any time during the hearing. Following the presentation and questioning, each party will be allowed a maximum of 3 minutes to sum up their case or representation. The committee will then retire for deliberation. Upon its return, I will announce the committee's decision. Please keep your remarks as concise as possible. Can we have the presenting officer, Lorna, to introduce the application?
Yes, Chair. On the 4th of September 2024, an application for a summary review of the premises licence under Section 53A of the Licensing Act 2003 was served by Police Constable Nicole Sond on behalf of the Chief Officer of the Metropolitan Police, Hammersmith and Fulham Police Station, 226 Shepherd's Bush Road, Hammersmith, W67NX. The summary review application is in respect of the premises known as McGettigan's, 1 Fulham Broadway, London, SW67NX. The application for a summary review of the premises licence was made on the grounds of the prevention of crime and disorder following an incident which took place on the 1st of September 2024 at the premises that concerned a female who had sustained a head injury and then a short time later suffered a seizure. At the time of the summary review, PC Sond therefore requested that the licensing subcommittee considered revocation of the premises licence. The premises currently operates a premises licence which permits the following licensable activities: the performance of dance indoors only, Sunday to Wednesday from 10 a.m. till midnight, and Thursday to Saturday 10 a.m. till 1 a.m. The performance of live music indoors only, Sunday to Wednesday 10 a.m. till midnight, Thursday to Saturday 10 a.m. till 1 a.m. The playing of recorded music indoors only, Sunday to Wednesday 10 a.m. till midnight, and Thursday to Saturday 10 a.m. till 1 a.m. Entertainment similar to music or dance indoors only, Sunday to Wednesday 10 a.m. till midnight, Thursday to Saturday 10 a.m. till 1 a.m. The provision of late night refreshment indoors only, Sunday to Wednesday from 11 p.m. till midnight and Thursday to Saturday 11 p.m. till 1 a.m. And the premises is permitted for the sale of alcohol both on and off the premises, Monday to Wednesday from 10 a.m. till midnight, Thursday to Saturday 10 a.m. till 1 a.m. and Sunday 12 p.m. till midnight. The hours that the premises is open to the public is Sunday to Wednesday from 10 a.m. till 12:30 a.m. and Thursday to Saturday from 10 a.m. to 1:30 a.m. On the 5th of September 2024, an interim steps meeting was held via Microsoft Teams, and at the meeting, the committee decided, after taking into account all of the individual circumstances and the promotion of the 4 licensing objectives, to implement the following interim steps with immediate effect: remove the DPS, remove the designated premises supervisor from the license, and suspend the licensing pending the full review. On the 10th of September 2024, Mr. Duncan Craig submitted a representation against the interim steps imposed on the 5th of September 2024 on behalf of the current premises licence holder. A hearing was held on the 11th of September 2024, and the committee has decided to uphold the decisions made in the original interim steps meeting. The licensing section received 7 representations supporting the review application, which were on behalf of the licensing authority, the premises freeholder EI Group, the Barcode Road Conservation Area Neighbourhood Watch, the Fulham Island Residents Association, the Vanson Place Management Company, and 2 local residents. There has been previous enforcement history in the last 3 years at the premises, which has been detailed in the report. And further to the main agenda, there has been 2 items of supplementary agenda circulated to all parties. Supplementary Agenda A, which contained additional information from the police, the premises licence holder and the licensing authority, was circulated to all parties on the 1st of October 2024. The Supplementary Agenda B, which contained additional information from the police barrister, was circulated to all parties on the 2nd of October 2024. It's also worth noting that since the report was published, meetings have occurred between the police and the premises licence holder, and the police's position in relation to the additions which they now propose is that they believe that a new DPS should be appointed, and agreed conditions which is outlined in the supplementary agenda should be agreed and added to the licence. And following the above developments, the Metropolitan Police is now seeking that the premises licence is suspended for a period of time sufficiently enough for the premises to implement the changes agreed effectively. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Lorna. And now we go to the applicant, which is Gabriel Nelson, and the police barrister.
Thank you, Chair. It may assist the subcommittee if they turn to supplementary agenda B, which contains my skeleton argument, which I'll use to structure my submissions. I'll first turn to a point of clarification. The applicant originally sought revocation of the premises licence as per the witness statement of 18th September by PC McCall-Songe. This position has since changed following meetings between the premises and the Met Police, and the police's position is now that the licence be suspended for a period of 2 weeks to allow the suggested changes to take place. I'll briefly run through the facts of the incident. On the 31st of August 2024, during a private party at the premises, an altercation occurred in which a female was hit on the head, causing a large lump to form on her forehead. 15 minutes later, the same female suffered a seizure. Police were called following the fight. However, it was later that it was only a minor altercation, and the woman's seizure was not related to said fight. The woman was then attended by the local ambulance service, who recalled the police, suspecting that the woman's injuries were suffered as a result of an assault. Officers then re-attended the scene. It was confirmed to them by the security staff that the female had been hit by something other than a fist, perhaps a bottle, and that she had definitely been assaulted. When the police arrived, witnesses were not forthcoming, and suspects had not been identified nor detained by the staff at the premises. The CCTV provided does show a large altercation coming together at the premises, which is significantly larger than that described by the security staff at the event. Turning to the premises response, on the 2nd of September 2024, a post-incident report was sent to Deborah Gomez. However, the police found her response unsatisfactory, insufficiently detailed, and showed a lack of understanding as to the event and the security staff's response. The police further came across 2 incidents that raised concern that had not been reported by the premises. Firstly, a call was received by a member of staff on the 27th of January 2024, stating a fight had occurred outside the premises. However, that call was cancelled. However, only 11 minutes later, another call was received by a member of the public who said that there was a large fight in the streets and members of staff had lost control. A meeting occurred between the designated premises supervisor, Donal O'Doherty, and the Met Police on the 4th of September 2024. Again, during this meeting, the DPS, Deborah Gomez, consistently displayed a misapprehension of the events that took place on the 31st of August 2024, and the inadequacy of the premises response. Further, upon review of the premises logbook required to be kept pursuant to condition 29 of the premises licence, the police noticed further instances that had not properly been reported. In May 2024, there was an entry relating to a sexual assault of a female, whereby she had been grabbed and groped outside the premises by a male, who was then allowed inside the premises to buy her a drink. The police were not called nor notified, and when Ms. Gomez was asked about the incident, she could provide no recollection. However, there has been significant progress following the meeting of 4th September. In an email dated 25th of September, the premises confirmed that the management of the premises needed to be reviewed and that they were seeking the employment of an experienced candidate to take over the role of the DPS. They further confirmed that the CCTV system would be undergoing an upgrade to include further cameras. In response, the police proposed that present conditions 27 and 28 in the premises licence be replaced with the following condition, which I've detailed in paragraph 18 of my skeleton argument, and further that present condition 29 be replaced with that detailed in paragraph 19 of my skeleton argument. On Monday, the 30th of September, the premises agreed to the proposed conditions. Further, an email dated 29th of September, McGettigans confirmed that they had identified 2 potential replacements for the current DPS, one George McGettigan and one Timothy Hughes, both of whom provided CVs and proposed to undertake a personal licence course. I've detailed the powers the subcommittee possesses pursuant to section 53C of the Licensing Act of paragraph 23 of my skeleton argument. I would further highlight to the subcommittee that policy 16 of the London Borough of Hammersmith and Fulham Statement of Licensing Policy 2022 to 2027 addresses the safety of women and girls in licensed settings and advises, I quote, the licensing authority will use its powers to regulate the nighttime economy, both with regard to spiking incidents, evidently not at issue here, and more generally in relation to violence against women and girls. They should consider the prevalent prevention and reporting of sexual harassment and misconduct and gender-based violence in licensed premises. Turning to my submissions, whether the premises is associated with a crime and disorder. At present, the premises are clearly associated with crime and disorder. During the key incident on the 31st of August 2024, there was minimal cooperation with the police for the staff at the premises. Indeed, the police had to attend on 2 occasions, both of which times the police received an entirely different response. Namely, that upon the first attendance, police were told there was a minor incident and the victim's injuries were unrelated to the fight that occurred. And on the second visit, the police were informed that the victim definitely had been assaulted. As a result, it became more difficult for suspects to be identified and witness gathered for the eventual investigation. To add, several incidents have not been reported. This includes another large fight and an alleged sexual assault of a woman occurring on the
I have to stop you, Barrister, because your time is 5 minutes. Maybe I forgot to mention it. Now I'm going to have a responsible authority in support, which is Edrin, local authority licensing officer. 5 minutes. So, Edrin.
Thank you, Chair. I won't take that long. The licensing authority, just by way of background, initially made comments in support of this review, as we had concerns with the operation and general management of the premises. We also had concerns that unlicensed activities had taken place at the premises on the 1st of September 2024, despite previous guidance and a warning being issued in very similar circumstances after an event in November 2023. However, after reviewing the conditions recently agreed between the licence holder and the police, the licensing authority are now satisfied that a 2-week suspension of the licence, along with the addition of extra conditions outlined in supplementary Agenda B, will adequately promote the licensing objectives. I don't have any further comments at this stage, but I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Edwin. Now we have Joanna Hipkicks. That is National EL Group National Licensing Manager. You have 5 minutes to present your case.
Thank you very much, Chair. We have no comment at this stage. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. In that case, we have residents in support. We have John Scolding. You are representing Miranda and Gilpin. So you have 10 minutes, both you and Miranda. So 10 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Chair. So a little bit about myself. I've been a resident at the same address, very close to the site, for just over 20 years. But I'm also representing Miranda Gilpin, who is the Secretary of the Fulham Island Residents Association. That is a fairly substantial association representing around about 80 people who are in 32 flats at Fulham Island. And one side of Fulham Island is in fact almost not quite directly, but along the road and very close to the McGettigans site. I intend to keep this brief. I mean, we as residents very much support the review. We support the position being taken by the police and the position that has been articulated by Mr. Overton. The context, of course, for residents is that over a number of years there has been increased crime and disorder. There have been a number of incidents in the Fulham Broadway area. The area is hugely residential, and the issues which this particular site acts as a kind of illustration for are all too often realities for residents. The review is very interesting for us because it gives us an opportunity to really see and talk about enforcement. I mean, I don't need to go into the long list of failings, the mismanagement, the lack of leadership. However you want to interpret it, I don't think there is, or anyone is attempting to put a positive spin on this. There simply isn't one. It occurs to us that this is an example of multiple people at multiple levels walking away from their responsibility and abnegating it. And I think residents need to know, and they need to take it as read, that license holders and managers and operators of these sites can do the basics. I'm not even sure the basics were done here. And enforcement needs to drive home that breaches of licenses are unacceptable, and if I've understood the legal position correctly, possibly an offence that needs to be treated very seriously. That said, obviously we accept where the position is now with the applicant and with the licensing authority. I suppose I can't fail to mention that I think 2 weeks is quite generous, because we've been talking about recruiting someone with the right credentials. It's a relatively short time frame within which to put in place the necessary checks and balances, and to be certain that the people who are being recruited, whilst the CVs look wonderful, they do actually also look 1.5 miles away from the reality of Fulham Broadway. Whilst it's great that candidates can manage Michelin star restaurants or have worked in Dubai, I've certainly been to that place, and I can tell you it's absolutely nothing like the Fulham Broadway or the issues that we face in Fulham Broadway. But I don't think anyone will be surprised to hear that. So again, I'm going to keep this brief. We are very supportive, and thank you for allowing us to participate in this and undoubtedly learn from it. I very much hope, from a resident's perspective, that these enforcement measures will prove that the licence holder takes this seriously, will evidence enforcement, and will allow us a period where they can prove that they're worthy of the licence. Obviously, the matters we're talking about are incredibly serious. not just in the context of women, but also in younger people using these sites. And Fulham Broadway is a very busy area. But all said and done, we support the review, and thank you.
Thank you so much, John. We have Charlotte. Is a resident, and you have 5 minutes, Charlotte.
I'm also representing Amanda from Dungagan House.
Okay. Amanda's name wasn't okay. I give you 10 minutes. Amanda's name wasn't on my list, but it's fine.
Okay, administrative error.
Okay. 10 minutes.
Yes, I'm Charlotte Dexter, Barclay Road residents, via our Barclay Road Conservation Area Neighborhood Watch. Our Neighborhood Watch was started many years ago by none other than Chris Cardwell, who worked with a few of us to start one of the first neighborhood watches in Fulham. And we're forever grateful to him for his advice and encouragement. He is, of course, our licensing police officer now. So we've enjoyed a very good relationship with him over the years. And that's one of the big reasons that we're here. And I've got some other people to, think about this strongly and support this review and be here tonight. Because it's important that we think about pubs and our town center, but what is it other than businesses, pubs, public houses, restaurants, cafes, some other commercial businesses, and thousands of residents. These pubs have an amazing impact on our daily lives, whether people realize it or not, because what is good and bad going on in these pubs and in our licensed establishments has a turnover and rolled over effect on our own roads, neighborhoods, the amount of crime, disorder, goodness, and not so goodness. So I can look out my back window here in my office and I can see the back of McGettigan's. That's how close McGettigan's is to me. We send a lot of friends and neighbors to McGettigan's for pretty good food and early evening fun. Not too much late fun from Barclay Road, but that's fine as well. We appreciate that McGettigan's has a closing time of 1:30 versus 2-3 o'clock. I'd like to address the fact that I feel it's very important that the councillors here tonight who know Fulham well realize that we have 3 major pubs right here on Fulham Road, Fulham Broadway. We have McGettigan's, we have the Redback, and we have the Fulham Broadway Bar and Grill, which is Stonegate. We've had a lot of problems with these pubs over the years, and it's always been very, very difficult for residents to make clear to police and to the licensing authority the problems that we're encountering. And in fact, the Redback closed in April due to bankruptcy and so on. So it didn't close because of its problems. We're lucky that it closed perhaps for other reasons. Squatters came in, and then we had unlicensed music events, which we thank the police, local and licensing, very much for stopping on a second weekend with 3 vans, 21 officers, and pushing everybody out of this unlicensed music event that had gone on the previous weekend for 2 nights, etc. So you probably know all about that. As far as Stonegate's premises is concerned, it's been closed since November. It sort of opened quickly at December. A lot has changed there. It's not to discuss tonight, but again, it's closed. It had squatters. It doesn't have squatters now. So we have a big pub problem right here, not far away. I can put my hand on one. I can put my hand on another one over there. So, it's very close. And it's having a very, very negative effect on businesses here in Fulham Broadway. We have a lot of shuttered restaurants and so on. We're looking forward to the town hall being turned into a boutique hotel, and we're hoping that that will help revive things. And it's exactly that point I want to make to these possible new employees of McGettigan's. that's, those are your future good clients, as far as I'm concerned, when that hotel opens, and they'll have a nice pub right around the corner. So please keep that in mind as you plan forward. I'm personally concerned about the applicants that you're considering, because they're actually working quickly to get their own personal licenses. So we are talking about people that have absolutely no experience in the UK about licensing. And therefore, I speak on the behalf of every resident that I'm representing tonight, that 2 weeks is a very, very short time to, pull it together and to understand. You don't even have time to go into any of these other pubs to get a feel for what's going on in our neighborhood and so on. I personally, if you become those people, some of us as residents would like to meet with you, and perhaps the police could help us to make sure that happens, or the licensing authority can make it happen. And I'm not talking about required meetings. We don't even like them. Those are just tick box things. I'm talking about a telephone call and getting together and meeting with you, walking you around to places, explaining what we've seen, what we know on the ground. So I offer that up tonight. And I thank the police for bringing this review. I thank the licensing authority for their work together with the police. And it's a good start forward together. Sometimes it's difficult, residents, police, licensing authority. It's not always perfect, but this is perhaps a chance to move forward together. And I thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight.
Thank you, Charlotte and Miranda. And now I'm going to go to license holder representative, which is the barrister Duncan.
Thank you, Chair. Let me deal with the point in relation to Tim and George first,
and
because
before you start, Duncan, I'm allowing you 30 minutes, so you have time.
30.
Yes.
Okay. I don't think I'll need that, but that's good to know. Thank you very much, Chair. I appreciate you letting me know that. It means I won't have to talk quite as fast as I was otherwise going to. Let me just deal with the point about the experience of Tim and George, because just to put your mind at rest, Charlotte, you've raised, it's actually, Tim actually does have they both have significant experience in the UK, as is provided for on their CVs, but Tim holds a personal license, but it's a Scottish one. So he's passed all the requisite tests up there. The Scottish Licensing Act and the English and Welsh Licensing Act are very similar to each other, but there are some nuances, not one of which is there are 5 licensing objectives in Scotland, for example, because public health is an additional licensing objective. And I didn't know the answer to this at the weekend when I found this out, but it makes sense. It doesn't have any standing in England and Wales, and so they have to both jump through that particular hoop, which they've done the course, they've sent off for their DBS certificates. We're hoping to have those back, but whatever happens with the suspension after today, the premises doesn't have a DPS presently, and I'm not going to invite the panel to change that. And so until they reach the point where one or both of them has a personal license, then there won't be a DPS on the premises, and so the premises won't recommence the sale of alcohol and thereby any other licensable activities until that happens. When that happens, we don't know. We're hoping it's going to be, I mean, it may possibly be this week, but certainly we would hope it would be next week. But I'll move on from that, actually, Charlotte. I'll take a further point, or I'll make a further point in relation to those 2 individuals and say this. I had a meeting with the police at the premises yesterday. I've been practicing for 11 years in licensing now. I have to say it's one of the most positive meetings I've ever had with responsible authorities in the course of those 11 years. And certainly, I hope that the Metropolitan Police Service felt out following that meeting that you had 2 extremely experienced and competent managers, and certainly that's the impression that I gathered from that meeting. They're both, and obviously they're here to answer any questions that you may have. And I know that John raised the issue in relation to the commitment of the license holding company to this process. Well, all I can say is Dennis McGettigan has pulled them both away from units that he's got outside the jurisdiction, has flown them here, has committed to them being involved in the premises. You can see from their CV the experience they've got. I haven't taken instructions on this, but I have absolutely no doubt that either of them would be happy to meet any of you tomorrow or at any other time in the days ahead. I think they're going to be at the premises quite a bit in the next few days, obviously, whilst the premises continues to remain closed while they move towards getting the premises compliant and operational again, subject obviously to you as a subcommittee following the steps that we hope you will. They have already undertaken in-person training with the existing staff that remain, Challenge 25 training, welfare safeguarding, incident reporting and crime scene preservation. They've already undertaken that training already, and they only arrived 2 days ago. And obviously, if you've got any questions for them about that training that they've delivered, they'd be happy to answer that. So I hope all those matters, and just to let you know, Dennis McGettigan as well has also removed one of his best chefs from one of the premises he's got in Dubai and has flown him over as well. So he's taken 3 senior managers away from the units over there and brought them here. And so I hope that addresses the concerns that have been raised to a significant and meaningful extent. Obviously, the last time I was here, I did make submissions about the fact that at the beginning of an expedited review process, we don't quite know the full picture. And I think it's right to say that perhaps not for the reasons that I may have thought at the time, those submissions have been proved correct, because it would be absolutely right, I have to concede. Obviously, throughout this process, I've been instructed by the license holder. The DPS is a function of the license. The license holder at any point can remove a DPS, can appoint a DPS. The DPS is a more fluid and transient thing. The license holder is rigid, and it is the license to which this application has been subject and thereby the license holder. And it's right to say, as part of the meeting yesterday, I was shown some footage by the Metropolitan Police Service in relation to what a doorman had said outside the premises on the night in question to an officer wearing body cam, and also what the victim had said in hospital. And it is absolutely clear from that footage that an assault did take place, that a weapon was almost certainly used, and that should or would have been apparent to anybody in a senior position at the premises at the time. The doorman has categorically said to the officer, the head doorman, that somebody was assaulted with what he believed to be a weapon. He said he was definitely assaulted. So obviously following that, or prior to that, but certainly my client's position is that they have then stepped back and reviewed the managerial position. They've listened to what the police have said. They've taken on board the observations that the Metropolitan Police Service has said, and a clearer picture has emerged. And following that, just to let you know, previous DPS obviously was removed as that's Deborah was removed as DPS by you as a subcommittee on the 5th of September. She has subsequently, in the last couple of days, been dismissed. There are obviously discussions around her, and obviously that's a separate matter. But around that departure from the company, it's right to say that Deborah did, prior to going, deal with some of the matters in relation to the CCTV, because I know that the Metropolitan Police Service raised concerns in relation to some of the camera positioning. That has been addressed. The security provision is under review. I don't know if the Metropolitan Police Service were pushing massively for that, actually, in terms of changing the security company, but that is currently being addressed, and I guess this is a good example of responsible authority, and in particular Metropolitan Police Service and a licence holder, perhaps being a little far apart at the beginning of this process, but working together to reach a position where we are, broadly speaking, in agreement with the police's position. There is a slight caveat to that, which I'll turn to, but I hope what I'm going to suggest, I would submit, arguably promotes the licensing objectives more purposefully and more expeditiously than what the Metropolitan Police Service are suggesting. So this is going to be a little bit, because obviously you've got 53A, 53B, 53C, and 53D. So I hope, Emmanuel, you've got your pencil sharpened so I can just take you through what I'm going to propose happens. So presently, by way of section 53B of the Licensing Act, big B, the license is presently suspended and the DPS has been removed from the license. We are going to invite you to remove the suspension as an interim step, to maintain the removal of the DPS, so that maintains as a position, and so Deborah Gomez remains not being the DPS of the premises. And unlike my learned friend's submission, my learned friend is inviting you to impose those conditions under section 53C as conditions on the license. But of course, by way of 53C, those conditions won't take effect for 21 days. And that's 21 days after the written decision, because of regulation 34 of the hearing regulations. No decision takes effect until it's delivered in writing. So if you were to impose those conditions, they wouldn't take effect for 21 days, including the condition around Deborah Gomez not being involved in the operation of the business. What I'm going to invite you to do is impose those conditions by way of section 53D, so that they take effect immediately, and by way of section 53C, so that they, at the end of that 21-day period, they take effect. So what that would mean, if you are minded to follow that submission and that suggestion, is that following this hearing, firstly, the suspension will be lifted. Secondly, Deborah Gomez will continue not to be the DPS. There won't be a DPS until such time as Tim or George gets a personal license, and we are in the hands of the gods with that, because we are waiting back on their DBS certificate, and that those conditions that have been reached by way of agreement between the parties will take effect whenever the premises reopens. And so I just turn to the suspension, that the further 2-week suspension that the police have suggested, and I just make this point. Obviously, I made submissions 3 weeks ago, and it would be right to say that some of those submissions were in terms of the factual matters I was asserting, were misconceived. I absolutely accept that. That was based on what I was being told. That was based on the instructions. But I don't think anybody can argue that Dennis McGettigan and the organisation has not, following that, A, taken on board what the police have said. They have. And B, nobody can say they haven't acted in a purposeful and positive way in order to address those concerns. They've dismissed the DPS, and they've not resisted the fact that she needs to be taken out of the equation from an operational point of view, because, frankly, the matters that were being asserted by her haven't been echoed by the evidence that's evolved. They've reached agreement on the conditions. Dennis McGettigan has committed to flying 3 people, 3 senior managers over from Dubai with huge amounts of experience, one of whom is a de facto personal license holder. If the qualifications for Scotland, I'm sure, are as stringent as they are in England and Wales. It's just by way of the fact he has to get that qualification. But you're not talking about somebody here who hasn't got relevant and appropriate experience. He's committed a significant sum to that. The premises has been closed for 4 weeks. They are both absolutely supremely confident. They've delivered that training already. They are both supremely confident at the point the premises is ready to operate again, which will only be when one of their personal licenses come through. That could be, it's unlikely to be this week, but it's possible. It could be next week, that they'll be ready to go. They are both supremely confident about that. And you can ask them both questions about that. And I just would submit, in the circumstances of everything that I've set out, the position that's been agreed with the Metropolitan Police Service, that the positive, purposeful, meaningful steps that have been taken by the licence holding company, that and the clear undertaking that I've given on their behalf, that they feel they are absolutely ready to go at the appropriate time. But they're not going to do that. And obviously we've made that clear to the police. We're not going to open until and operate until such a time as they are suitably qualified and they are suitably qualified, but have the personal licence in place. I would submit it would be disproportionate in those circumstances to impose a further suspension when it may well be the middle of next week they're ready to go. They're not going to do that until they are convinced they are ready. But I would just please invite you to consider that they perhaps need some flexibility on that when they're ready to go, that they can make that judgment call. They are not going to do that precipitously. I'm not going to do that with undue haste. But equally, I make no apologies for this. Licensing is a balancing exercise between the rights and the legitimate rights of a licence holder to run a commercial business and the promotion of the licensing objectives. And I think it would be right to say in the last couple of weeks, my client has taken very active and positive steps to promote the licensing objectives. And so I would please invite you on that basis to balance that against their right to get this business opened again. I know from personal experience, I've been in the license trade for over 30 years now. When a business closes for a sustained period, it gets increasingly hard to get it back to where it was commercially. I used to have a boss when I was area manager of a pub company, and he always said to me, Duncan, try and keep the pub open, even if you're doing a refurbishment, try and keep one of the bars open, because if you close it for a sustained period, people get out the habit of going, that they start going somewhere else. But lots of different factors can happen, and it's a lot harder to get it back. Now, I'm not saying your overriding concern here should be and will be commercial interests of my client, but I would just please invite you to balance what they've done, what they've committed to, the steps that they've taken against that, and please just, so as I say, just to reiterate, remove the suspension as an interim step, maintain the removal of the DPS as an interim step, impose all those conditions that are agreed between the Metropolitan Police Service and the licence holder, both under 53C and 53D, but would please invite you not to impose any further suspension. But as I say, irrespective, the premises cannot and will not lawfully operate without a DPS in place, and one of those DPSs will either be George or Tim. We're not just going to pull somebody in and deal with that way. I'll give that undertaking as well. The commitment is that one of those two is the DPS. So I don't think I've been anywhere near half an hour, Chair. I think I'm. Well, I am. Look, I think the other thing. Can I just reiterate again? I'm flying by the seat of my pants a little bit here, but any local residents, I'm going to speak on behalf of Tim and George, that they are going to be there. Please pop in and see them. I think you'll find they're both very personable and impressive individuals, actually, and both, I guess, when you've been in the trade for as long as me, you get a sense when somebody's a good operator, and I got that within 5 minutes of meeting both of them. I'm committing to that in this hearing. People can make their own minds up, but I think you'll find that they very much want to be part of this community and work with it. So hopefully you'll be able to meet up with them in the next few days. So that's the submissions on behalf of the licence holder. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Duncan. Now, committee question. Can I ask each committee member to ask questions of any party about the application and the issues that have been raised at this hearing in relation to 4 licensing objectives? 1, the prevention of crime and disorder. 2, public safety. 3, prevention of public nuisance. 4, protection of children from harm. So I leave the committee members to ask questions.
Chair, if I may ask just one very brief question, which is to someone from the McGettigans. It's a very simple question, and it's this: how long is it anticipated that George and/or Timothy are going to be in place?
I think that's a question for my client. I think they have to answer that.
Whoever wishes to answer.
I've no problem with that, Councillor. George is my nephew, and I think what I'm going to do with George is I'm going to give him a stake into that business, so he will be there permanently. To me, it's certainly helping me out for a few weeks, just to try and get all these things moved out.
Okay, thank you. So indefinite.
Yes.
It was such a slightly crackly line. I think that is all. I have actually one question to licensing, Adrian, if you could, and this is more for clarification than anything else. There is a reference to unlicensed or unlicensed activities taking place. I think there was one in November 2023. I was just wondering what those activities were.
So yes, thanks, Councillor. So it's believed that the sale of alcohol and regulated entertainment was taking place at that time. So a warning letter was issued for that offence on that occasion. I would also add that the unlicensed activities that's alleged on the 1st of September is also something we are still looking into, and it may be, well, it will be that we will contact the licence holder separately about that, irrespective of what happens this evening.
So just for clarification, you mean selling outside of licence hours?
Correct. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay. No, I thought.
Yeah,
so.
in November. That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. And I believe I had one more question. It's on the tip of my tongue. No, I think actually, I may have another question later, Chair, but for me, I think that's it for now. Thank you. Oh yes, sorry. No, I do have a question, and that is this: is with regards to the temporary event notices. There was I don't have the papers open, so forgive me if I'm slightly incorrect on this or misquoting it. The first 10 that is listed was for a private party from 10 a.m. till 3 a.m. It's a private birthday party, which seemed to go on for 24 hours. Which just struck me as a little odd. I don't know what the question I want to ask is, but is it usual for a private birthday party to go on for 48 hours?
Is that to me, Councillor?
Or to the licence holder? It's to me, so I felt I would ask about it.
Okay, can Lorna?
I think
so,
Lorna
one minute.
Hand up on that.
Lorna wants to answer that.
Lorna.
I think, sorry, I just had the document up 1 second. Where's it gone? I think it said between the hours of 10 a.m. till 3 a.m. each day, so it would have gone on to the next day. It wouldn't have been 24 hours, if that makes sense, consecutive hours. Okay,
because ordinarily, and if you look at some of the other ones, if you say until 3 a.m. on a Saturday, what it actually means is 3 a.m. on Sunday morning.
It would be on the date that's on there, so it would be 3 a.m. of that morning. So of that first one, for example, would be of the 30th till 3 a.m. on the 30th. So then obviously it would stop. It wouldn't go until 3 a.m. on the 31st, if that makes sense. Is it? Because normally, let's say when we say the licensing hours on a Thursday, Friday, and Saturday are till 1 a.m. Mm-hmm. If on a Saturday it's 1 a.m., it's actually until 1 a.m. on the Sunday morning.
right?
Yes.
So on a temporary event notice, it would be till the date of the day, the next day. So because it's a number of days that they're allowed. So say if it was, yeah, it would be on to the Sunday, but it wouldn't then go on to the Monday till 3 a.m.
No, but I'm saying, so this is a 48-hour birthday party because it was the Friday and the Saturday were the two dates that were given.
It would, I think, from reading it from the temporary event notice, it would start at Friday at 10 a.m. and finish at 3 a.m. on the Saturday. It wouldn't then be going on till the following day. Because with the temporary event notice, it's the, so say if we used to have a party, I don't know, use it today as an example, on the 2nd of October, it starts at 10 a.m. It would then finish at, and it's going over till tomorrow, it would finish at 3 a.m. on the 3rd. So the temporary event notice would have the 2nd and the 3rd. It wouldn't, but does that make sense? I don't know if Adrian, if I'm not explaining it clearly.
No. I think you are. And I say, and everyone will be very pleased to know.
If it was 48 hours, it would be from like the 2nd to the 4th. It would go over 3 days. That's how I would personally read it.
As I understood it, it was just over that evening. I know what you mean, order to 3 a.m. the following day, but I haven't actually got it in front of me, but we can check for you just to make sure.
Yeah, no, that's fine. As I say, it wasn't. It really wasn't meant to be a big question. It was just something that struck me as odd because ordinarily you have something with one date, and as I say, we say Saturday, we actually mean Saturday to the early hours of Sunday. But that's fine. Chair, and thank you everybody for all the representations you've made.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
I will proceed. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions from members, committee members?
Yes, please, Chair. Could I ask Duncan and Dennis, and Duncan, thank you very much, and Dennis for being upfront about what has happened in the pub, because reading through some of the statements, I was trying to work out who was saying what, and just it certainly sounds like it's kicked off in the pub, and just coming on to the pub's been closed since the beginning of September. So how many people have not been getting a wage packet as a consequence of that?
They've all been paid.
They've all been paid.
Yeah.
So presumably that's the business paying out without an income.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you very much for clearing that up. And if I could ask a question of Gabriel, but it's probably better going to Nicole and Chris. Again, thank you very much for your tenacity in this, because obviously, I mean, just reading it as an ordinary person, somebody's got smashed over the head with a bottle or something similar to a bottle, and has been quite seriously injured and could have had a stroke or died. You know, it's a really serious thing that's happened. Do you think this was what was this lady who was the victim? Was she the intended victim of whoever did this, or were they aiming for somebody else and she was in the crossfire? And sorry, that's something you might not know. It's just you may have an opinion on that.
Yeah, we don't actually. The CCTV footage wasn't clear, and we've said that from the beginning as to the actual assault. We've said previously the investigation is still live, so there's not a lot we can discuss about that. But from what she said on her initial account, I think she was the intended victim of that assault. Yeah.
And so I then guess you probably won't. You may not want to answer the next question. That's fine. But is this something of people brought their grudge to the pub, or is this because just as the night has worn on, people have fallen out with each other and then resorted to violence?
Yeah, I mean, at this stage, there's nothing to suggest that this was sort of a reprisal attack or anything like that. No.
Thank you very much for clearing that. And once again, thank you very much for putting all this together, because obviously the police have had several visits there, and it was unclear to me what the picture was. But you you really help. Thank you very much. And just asking Charlotte and John Spalding. I kind of know the answer, but and I hope you won't mind me answering. But I can remember when there used to be 10. There were at least 10 pubs between Sildarn Road and the and the old police station at Fulham Police Station, all sited on the Fulham Road. You know, the A304, and with McGettigans closed. The law-abiding, sensible people, who, including policemen and all that, have got nowhere to have a glass of beer, and anywhere on Fulham Broadway. And I can remember when the Fulham Police Station was was a proper police station. Well, you know, the pubs were very orderly, and we had a lot of off-duty police officers who were obviously just enjoying a half a glass of beer. I'm really asking you to just comment on the idea that we've got nothing now in Fulham Broadway, unless McGettigans reopens.
I'll comment. Yeah, you're absolutely right. We lost the George several years ago, which was probably the closest pub on the corner to to the police station. Further down afield, you've mentioned the Wheat Chief. I think at another hearing you mentioned that one. The closest one now that's open, because the three are closed that we've just talked about, is the Cock, right there on North End Road, closer to Mr. Spalding. The Jolly Malster has turned into sort of a beer brawl place, so I haven't walked in there because I've been told that it's very dangerous. And there have been altercations there and glasses thrown, and that's all made the headlines, of course. Yeah, and then further in, we have the Tommy Tucker in the Moore Park Estate, and the Butcher's Hook right across from Chelsea Football Ground, sort of right there behind you. But yeah, it's difficult because a lot of people like going to public houses. Right over the bridge from Stamford Bridge in the Billings, which is Royal Borough of Kensington, Chelsea, is the Fox and Pheasant, which maybe you've been to, which is excellent. And we're very lucky to have that pub. Incredibly well run, perfectly run pub. Now there's a pub for you guys to go visit, and I'll go with you. Meet Toby, figure out how he does it. Overbooked all the time. Unbelievable. Wonderful, wonderful place. We're so lucky to have that pub right in our midst. Is that kind of what you were looking for? Whether I knew about pubs, sir?
No, I know you know about the pub, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
No, I don't have any more questions for now, Chair. Oh, sorry, if I could just ask one more of Dennis and Duncan. When you have made these changes that have been discussed in the documentation thing, are you going to need some time to actually test them out to see whether they work and that, or will you have to just hit the floor running at day one, or will you get the chance to open the pub in a more limited way just to make sure everything's working properly?
Councillor Alexander, that might be a question for Tim and George. Actually, they're going to be the guys on the ground and on the coalface. Guys, do you want to just respond to that about how confident you feel about reopening and being ready?
Yes, of course, Duncan. We won't reopen the pub until we feel completely safe and confident that it's a good environment, it's a safe environment, and everything is in place, staff training wise, and in a way that everybody can come and enjoy it. But until we're confident with that, we're not going to be going full on or filling the pub up on day one. So we'll gradually make the necessary changes we think we need as we see them to make sure we do the right thing. and to make sure that it's, again, number one, a safe place to be.
Thank you. No further questions for now, Chair.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. I haven't got any question, so I'm going to go into summing up. So please, can I have summing up has to be 3 minutes. Then I have the licensing officer, Lorna, to sum up.
Nothing further to add, Chair.
Okay. Then I have the police, Gabriel, barrister, to sum up. 3 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. 2 preliminary points as to Mr. Craig's memo of friends suggestion as to the interim steps of imposing the proposed conditions. That's agreed. So that would be pursuant to section 53D and section 53C. I would also agree that we should maintain the removal of the DPS. That's agreed. Those 2 preliminary points now settled, I'll turn to the question of suspension. As Paul Alexander said, and the subcommittee appears to be in agreement, there was a very serious attack that occurred on the night of the 31st of August / the 1st of September. And it's clear from the evidence provided by the police that the premises was, and is currently until further changes are made, associated with crime and disorder. And we've heard from local residents, we've heard from the Met Police themselves, and we've heard from licensing, all expressing concerns as to the current management of the pub. And therefore, to ease those concerns and to allow sufficient time for changes to be properly implemented and monitored, we would suggest that a suspension of 2 weeks is maintained and imposed by the subcommittee. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabriel. Then we have supporters of the review. We have Adrian, 3 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. I won't be that long, but just in terms of the suspension, the licensing authority wouldn't have an issue with a suspension being less than 2 weeks. We didn't see the suspension as a punitive measure. We purely saw it as time to allow the license holder to be able to comply with the conditions. So as long as when the premises opens, those conditions are on the license and that they can comply with them, we'd be happy with that. I'm sure the license holder understands that as soon as they do open, the licensing authority will very shortly come and visit. So obviously they need to make sure that they've got all those conditions in place and that they're able to comply with them. And then finally, I think I made the point earlier on that because of the allegations of unlicensed activities on the 1st of September, we will be looking into that as a separate stream and we'll be talking to the license holder about that. So that is something separate from this review, but nothing else from me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we have Joanna. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, Chair. No comments at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have John Spalding representing Miranda. So you have 6 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Chair. I almost certainly won't need the 6 minutes. Well, I don't think my position or the position of the Fulham Island residents has changed. As I mentioned, we were sceptical that 2 weeks was sufficient time. It is obviously good to hear the positive things that, you know, Mr. Craig and others have referred to. But let's not get too carried away because, yes, people have jumped on flights and businesses are reorganizing themselves. Absolutely fine. But where were they when all these breaches were happening? Why is it only happening now? And where was the leadership that set the tone for management to do the right things at the property? Goes back to the earlier point about how can we be confident that the basics are being done. I think, and apologies if I get this wrong, I think Duncan Craig actually referred to them as good operators. Well, Mr. Craig, you may not be surprised to hear that the residents are not wowed by that phrase, given the events that have happened and the seriousness of the events that have taken place. So thank you to everyone for the submissions and laying out their position. I'm afraid we remain very sceptical. We think you probably need at least 2 weeks, probably further. but we are a long way from having anything like a period where the license holder and the management at the premises can say they've got a track record of good management and good practices. So we continue to support the police authority here. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Now we have Charlotte. Charlotte, you have are you speaking for someone?
Amanda from Dungagan House, yeah.
Okay, we have 6 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, my only point is one more of clarification. Residents and other interested parties are not allowed to ask questions, so I have to put it in a different way. I'm assuming that by keeping the pub open, there then wouldn't need to be a licensing or an application for a new license. So I'm unclear whether the license still exists, to be honest. Everything's sort of suspended. So anyway, if that's a workaround, certainly I would hope that councillors would not allow such a workaround. Otherwise, we look forward to an exemplary pub in Fulham Broadway that earns awards, that has great PR, and brings more positive business to our area. That's really what we need. And if Mr. McGettigan can do it in Dubai and in Bray and all sorts of other places I've just read about, then he certainly can do it here. And we need him to do that. We need him to pull out all the stops, please. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Charlotte. Now we have the license holders representative. So I'm going to give you 12 minutes.
That's very kind, Chair. I'm not going to need anything like that. Everyone will be delighted to hear. Just first of all, there's no workaround, Charlotte. The distinction between a premises license and a personal license. Happy to explain that to you because I know it can be confusing at times. It sometimes is for people who are very experienced in the license trade. With a premises license, if alcohol is authorised on that, you cannot sell alcohol through that license unless a personal license holder is in place as a DPS. So that's okay, fine. Well, there's no workaround here. They just obviously cannot operate under that license until there's a DPS in place, and that will be one of them. Just to clarify, John, when I referred to good operators, I was specifically talking about Tim and George as individuals. And I stand by that. They looking at their CVs, having met them, and the way they present themselves and talk, they are both, in my view, for whatever that is worth, extremely good operators. And we're pleased just invite both you and Charlotte to visit the pub in the next couple of days, and please make your own mind up about them in that regard. I welcome very much what Adrian has said, and he's right. In respect of suspensions, there's case law on this. The Bassett law case is clear that a license, suspension to a license, and any other step available under licensing act should not act as a punishment. It should act as a deterrent, and can act as a deterrent to a license holder and other license holders in the vicinity. But I would just please invite you to consider the issue of deterrence, but that has to be viewed in conjunction with also license holders acting in a positive and purposeful way to ensure that their premises are run more safely than perhaps they have been previously. And I can be right to say that the steps that have been taken are in accordance with that. Just in respect of the 53B and 53C and 53D, just please invite you to remind yourself that It's my client that suggested that, not the Metropolitan Police. My client has gone, we will take those conditions with immediate effect. That wasn't being suggested by the Metropolitan Police. And so, again, when you're looking at the issue of proportionality and taking your decision in the round and viewing it overall as to what is appropriate and proportionate, please bear in mind that that was not initially on the table for the Metropolitan Police's services point of view. So just invite you to consider that in conjunction with the view on the suspension. Although this is an expedited review, chapter or section or paragraph, I'm never quite sure what it is, but 11.20 in the guidance is clear that any steps you take it should be addressed at the causes that gave rise to the concerns around the review in the first place. I'm paraphrasing slightly, but that's what the guidance says. You've got to take an appropriate and proportionate step that goes towards and goes to the causes that gave rise to the review in the first place. Well, I would submit that is addressed by way of the removal of Deborah Gomez, those conditions going on with immediate effect. The premises license has been suspended for a period of 4 weeks. I'll just please invite you to consider whether further 2 weeks, in conjunction with all that's been offered and all that's been said, and all the steps have been taken, whether you consider that to be proportionate and appropriate. The client has said they will not open until such time, but that they feel they are ready. But it may well be that's next week, and I just would please invite you on that basis just to consider whether a 2 week suspension to the licence is appropriate and proportionate in those circumstances, in the circumstances of what has been suggested and offered on the premises. There isn't a lot of distance between the parties. But that's clear, and obviously my client will take on board, particularly what the residents have said, because they've not had the opportunity to hear that from their mouths previously. They have already taken on board what Metropolitan Police have said. They will also take on board what the licensing authority has said through Adrian, and so I'd please invite you to follow the steps that I've suggested. And thank you, everybody, for listening. And I bet I wasn't even close. Was it, Chair, to 12 minutes?
That's fine, yes.
Good.
It's
There we
4
go.
minutes,
Thank you very
but
much.
thank you.
Good. Not at all. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for
Thank you,
listening.
everybody. Yeah. The committee will now retire to take its decision in a separate meeting room. You are welcome to remain in the meeting to hear committee's decision. However, this might take some time. If you don't want to wait, a summary decision will be published on Council's Youth website tomorrow morning. Can I ask members to turn off their video, mute their microphone, and join me in a private Teams meeting for deliberation? Is everyone in?
Yes, thank you, Chair.
Okay. Mitigants. 1 Fulham Broadway, London, SW6 1AA, the premises. The committee has considered an application for a review of premises license under the Licensing Act 2003. The application, in summary, the committee has decided, after taking into account all the individual circumstances of this case and the promotion of 4 licensing objectives, to 1, to remove the suspension of the licensing and with immediate effect. 2, to impose the condition proposed by the premises license holder and agreed by the applicant and licensing authority with immediate effect. 3, to impose as a condition the removal of designated premises supervisor, DPS, with immediate effect. A copy of this committee's full decision, including its reasons and full text of the condition added to the license, will be sent to the parties forthwith. If any party is unhappy with the decision, they are entitled to appeal to the magistrate court within 21 days from the date of notification of the full decision. I would like to thank everyone for attending or watching tonight's meeting. A summary of this decision will be on council website tomorrow morning. Thank you all.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Thank you all.
Thank you, Chair.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.